let's talk about what's going on with
about
Bravo and
Bethenny.
The
Reality
Bethenny
Reckoning.
wants to unionize, and there are some lawsuits going on, right?
I just had Mark Garagos on this very podcast. It's a good one. The lawyer. I mean, a lot of people have issues with Mr. Garagos. They point out certain things they don't like about him.
Right. So, I mean, even though everyone signs contracts that they cannot sue, there's a question of whether or not they provided a safe work environment. And I would say they did not. Right. There were girls with drinking problems, and instead of supporting sobriety, they were supplying only alcohol. They wanted the girls drunk. They wanted basically the train wreck, right? I think there were some of the women with, and excuse me for using the word girls, I don't know if that's politically correct, but
I mean, I'm not exactly politically correct these days, so who knows?
You know, people on the show who struggle with mental health. I think that there is some culpability on Bravo's part and with the producers that they led to the destruction for a lot of these women.
I think so too. I mean, listen, I've interviewed them all. So I've heard stories here on this podcast of people. I've heard 2 false imprisonment stories that I can think of. You know, like if I said you can't leave this room right now, that's false imprisonment.
Right.
So I've heard of 2 stories where they're like, filming is not done. You are not leaving. One where the door was bolted, and the other one where they took away someone's car keys so they couldn't drive away.
Unless they were drunk and they took away the keys. But I mean, a couple of times, I had done a scene with one of them that were so drunk.
Sonia or Leah?
Sonia. And when the cameras went down and the producers, the showrunners, whatever, they were leaving, and she couldn't walk out of the bar. I had to basically carry her into a cab, get her into her building. The doorman had to support her. And I had said to them the next day, aren't you a little worried about Sonia? I said, don't you think that there needs to be some type of an intervention or something? And nobody paid attention to it. Nobody cared. And I really thought, gosh, one day this is going to be a really bad headline. And I always thought that she was lovely. But my heart broke for her because she went through a lot in her life, and she was definitely drinking a lot. And I think that RHONY absolutely loved drunk Sonia. And otherwise they didn't think she was as funny.
I would agree with all that. So
right.
What? Like and I could see all that too. Like you said to producers, like FYI, I just want to let you know this.
Absolutely.
I had to get her home.
I said, you guys pack up and leave, and this girl could walk in the street and get hit by a car. So I said, you're not taking any responsibility for her. And I think they truly felt when the cameras were down, they had no culpability. But I definitely think that it creates a very toxic environment. They want the girls to fight with one another. They kind of feed you these, they call them beats, right, before the show, in which they want you to bring up toxic things about the other one. When I was refusing to do some of it, they kept saying to me, look, you're not gonna last on the show. And I just thought, well, this is not my livelihood. This is not my gig, so I don't care. But I was refusing to go down that road with certain scenes. But yeah, I definitely think that there are some things that they should be called on the carpet for.
And I agree. And when you said this to producers that this girl's going to go outside.
How are you becoming the interviewer right now?
Just this one question. When I literally can't help myself. People are like, and I'm like, listen, a lawyer, then the head of HR and an interviewer, all 3 jobs have one thing in common. I ask questions. So, so when you said this and she's going to walk out and fall down, and did they say like, Elyse, we're not interested, go away?
They wouldn't say we're not interested. They would say, yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
But then did nothing about it.
But they did nothing about it.
And when you were refusing to bring up whatever, but they said, Elyse, you're not going to make it.
Right. Absolutely.
And what did they think you were supposed to say to that? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into what they wanted me to say or bring up or a scene they wanted me to create.
You won't?
No, I won't.
The next time you're here and I interview you, will you?
But I think that bad things are going to come down the line for Bravo. I think that they have to, especially now with all the awareness around mental health. And, so you could say, well, what kind of women want to be on this type of reality show? And you could say, well, the women have responsibility because they know what they're signing up for. So one could make that argument, and they do sign a contract releasing Bravo of all responsibility. Mm-hmm. However, you're the lawyer, but I do believe that when you are aware that someone is struggling with mental health issues or alcoholism or abusing prescription drugs, and you are basically supplying the environment for their disease or their battle to be even that much more challenging, I don't think that's a safe work environment.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, some people think it's all just going to go away, but it's quiet now. And to me, when there's a lawsuit, that's when it's quiet. Like when you're not hearing from Bethenny or Mark or Brian, they're working. When Mark Aragos was here.
So why do you think Bethenny, since she distanced herself from reality TV, and she certainly was no wallflower, right? When she was on the show, why do you think now she's made it her mission to align herself with the working people?
Well, and she certainly isn't with her money these days, but I don't know. I feel it could be one of many things. I mean, look at a lot of people feel it's personal. Mm-hmm. People say she was on Watch What Happens and Andy dissed her and now she's pissed. And listen, I've said this before. At some point, although I'm not a good example because I'd want to work forever, but to me, it's just take your money and just go to lunch at Tudo in the Hamptons and just live. Now, I don't think there's anything, you can never have too much money as far as I'm concerned, so I get it. But look, I think that Bethenny's not dumb. So do I think this will ban her from ever being on NBC again? I do. But I think it's over for her anyway. I think she wanted to go back for $5 million, rumors, for RHONY, not getting that. Girls Trip, she said she would do Girls Trip for $1 million.
She did?
She